Hello YouTube, Infonator here again, making a video. I'm going to try to connect a few things. I probably, your comments would help on this subject because, let me get a little further, so I'm going to chop my head off. Forgot to get my water. I don't want to believe that fate is already written out for every individual in reality, or whatever this reality is. We can always argue that, if it's a simulation or if it's a divine simulation or some multiverse, with like the way Elon Musk says there are multiple versions of reality all playing at the same time. I can argue with that and believe it as well at some point. The multiverse may be a reality because, well, they always push the narrative, so we don't know if they're trying to push us the way where they want us to be. That might be what a lot of this narrative is. That they want us to believe a certain way. Maybe our consciousness drives reality, and that's how they control reality. I don't know. I just know that there are hints of manipulation in it all. But one thing I can assume or piece together is, if this reality is a closed-in loop, or it could be a continual control algorithm. In other words, it doesn't loop, but it keeps on going forward, but it's still controlled in a forward direction into the future. What I'm trying to say is, maybe Rust Cohle is right about his loop, which he quotes in the HBO series True Detective, which he then quotes or cites Nietzsche, famous German or Russian. I had it before. I think it was Russian. He's one or the two. He's a German or Russian philosopher, not to be confused with any other of the philosophers of the past, where he cites that reality loops itself over and over and over. We never experience another reality, and that this reality is closed to any new situation or direction. At first I thought it to be a little extreme, but I do believe the part where he says that the eternals, or the timeless ones that live outside of time, the gods basically, they had to grow us within this petri dish of time, and in so doing, they, at the end of this, well, maybe a journey, they are, like I say, I've always said it, they're energy vampires, because they're always trying to get emotion arise out of us. And as a child, I was, one of my, where I used to live when I was a child, up to 5, the place was very haunted, extremely haunted, and my sisters, all of them, my 2 sisters experienced some stuff, and I did as well, a lot of it, and I believe that was a rise to a fear, to get fear out of the body. They're energy vampires, just simple. The gods are these I believe they're hybrid, evolved, like the way they're talking about now, how the elite want to merge with a synthetic, artificial body. Of course, when you don't have your biological body, you will not inherit any emotional values. You won't have any emotions anymore. So these creatures evolved themselves a long time ago, or they got sentenced to some, phantom zone where you have no body anymore, and you're just a spirit. So with a spirit, you also only a spirit body. You can neither also feel, just as it's said about the angels. They don't have any emotions. they cannot contract or display or feel anything, just like they've alluded to in the movie City of Angels with Nicolas Cage. I believe a lot of the fiction, yes, I've debated this with my nephew, and I've debated it, with him a few times. I do believe they do leak. I don't know why they do that. I suppose they can always cite it as a fictional thing when you bring up the subject. But let's get back to, there are reasons why Rust Cohle might be correct. The Vedas, as I've said, talk about the gods not being able to make their own food, so we have to provide for them. And the Greeks said that in the battlefields, a lot of the ghouls, but I call them ghouls, or cyborgs, cybernetic organisms, agents of the Matrix. They, Men in Black, observers, all of that, they would be seen. I guess some people were able to see them psychically or something. Breathing in the fumes of the dead, meaning I don't know if it's the spirit or the emotions, I suppose. If they can assimilate us, like the series The Exorcist alludes to, by integration, meaning they consume our souls, or like the Evil Dead says, I'll swallow your soul. There's a lot of allusions to this. Even Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street would consume his victims, and they would be inside of him. Therefore, we may be in a matrix at the moment. We may be even in a singular matrix. We don't even know how to verify each other's existence. I know that is deep stuff. I was going to say deep shit, but really, in reality, here's the reasons why I believe in Rust Cohle's little antics, his little rant that he says that we've experienced this life over and over and over and over and over. Our memory is wiped, of course. It's an unfair disadvantage for us. I've often wondered, maybe some outside force has created this loop, because if we keep on going through the course of time, we will evolve into a greater, more powerful, intelligent being. Maybe not us, but our predecessors, our lineage might. So they have found a way to keep us caged within this loop, so that we don't evolve into, say, a more formidable being. Okay, I'm going off. I'm not proving my point. Here's the reason why. When I was 18, well, here's the reason why Rust Cohle may have. When I was 18, I had a premonition. I had a feeling. It was a feeling. It was like a download. It was like a complete download. Let's say if you read a book, and or let's say you read a chapter, and it was downloaded into you, and you already had read it, and so the memory of all information was already there in your mind. That's how I felt. So there was that one that told me I was going to get busted for with dope, with weed, and so I avoided going out. But what was weird is that it persisted. My friends called me up that didn't have a license, and boom, boom, boom. And my dad even was part of the equation. Just there giving me the phone, and they called me 2 or 3 times, and I told them no, I was going to go out. Well, so I finally went out, and I consequently I was cruising around the mall, and the cops pulled me over, and I told the idiots to hide it, and they put it on the dash. So yeah, they didn't get charged. I got charged, but it happened exactly as I premonized. So that's fate. The only way I could have avoided that if I would have immediately just taken off to the woods and not told anybody, because I have to be isolated. Somehow, fate does happen, like the movie Final Destination, and then other ones where these my wife, when she was not my wife, she was in high school. She was probably something was gonna alter her reality. So some little dude. I'll go into these later. You know, a lot of people call these angels. I don't, because I don't see it through the lens of religion. I call these the overlords, and they have nodes. These nodes are like the agents of the matrix, and they can presume and assume any identity. So they blend in anywhere. They can even assume themselves an object. So even a UFO, I imagine they can even be a UFO. So they can assume any. They're basically like the gods of the Greek mythology. That they could turn into a bird or a snake or a horse, or whatever. Anyways, she was saved by this little observer or agent, and he kind of neuralized her because he was going to attack him at the end. Her usual buddy that came by to walk her off because the teacher would always keep her out of class. Okay, that's one. That's a weird one. But then her boss had the same incident, and this agent was saved him from the car blowing up out in nowhere, blowing up in his face. He was going to probably have an effect on some other cascading events that had to happen. So fate is, it seems, it has to roll out the way they want it to, especially since these beings, like I said, he put his hand in the fire of his car, in the carburetor, and pulled out some wires. It's fireproof. Obviously, he's either super strong, which I've heard the Men in Black are. And they, supposedly they have a grip of 2,000 psi, according to something they had, a metal cabinet they had pinched when he was jumping over it. So they're super powerful. They're fireproof. They're even freeze-proof because he got neuralized also and stunned. Went to go thank the guy. Nowhere around. He disappeared. See what I mean? This is fate, but I don't see it as angel stuff or coming back and validating heaven and all that, like and NDIs. What are they? Near-death experience. NDEs. The other guy, the other story was by my brother-in-law, my new brother-in-law, James, where he says his friend, some girl, she got stranded in like out in some storm. Her car broke down. She didn't have any blankets. She was gonna freeze to death. She knew she was gonna die or something like that. And some guy came out walking out of the snow. Apparently he can snow like ice. I mean, it was probably like below freezing, probably like 10 degrees below zero. He came out of nowhere. He told her he was gonna help her with her car to turn it on or something like that. And he put his hand on the hood and it turned on. So, you know, these things are real, and Rust Cohle might have some validity to his theory, but we don't know if it's closed or if it keeps on going in a linear fashion into the future without looping again. But we know the zodiac has been touted as some kind of loop, but that's a 24,500 something, I don't know, 700 years. I should have that number by now. I gave you all, let's see, 4 stories, right? 4 stories, but there's plenty of stories out there that people don't talk about, and they always equated, you know. I remember I read one where a little boy got killed by, I think he temporarily died when a garage door crushed him, and then he called the little beings that sent him back, or he called them little birdies. So obviously they were the classical sense of an angel, because he was dead. See, that's the difference between being alive and seeing these. I guess I like to term him as what do they call it in that movie? Adjustment Bureau agents. They're the same thing as angels, and people are very misguided in believing that this world's run by a good God, because I don't. After all the information I have gathered, I can honestly attribute this being to some sort of an energy vampire that has us as his food, and he has a system beneath him, just like an army or an empire, and they're the nodes of the, or the tentacles of the system. We are their unbeknownst or unknowing cattle. We're completely clueless to this arrangement. Obviously, because if we die and we come back and it's a loop, we have no what they call instinct or blood memory, or memory in the blood, like a salamander does, or like deer or dogs. A lot of them have little instincts. They don't have a lot of information, or they don't have generational from our ancestral memory. So we don't have this flowing information that should still be in our mind as an instinct, blood memory. Maybe we make a deal, like I've told several people before coming into the matrix, the divine matrix, because it is divine. It's a quantum, maybe even a multiverse quantum simulation, but it's not really a simulation. Yes, you might have some partake in choosing, as the Adjustment Bureau said, you can choose what food, what drink, what toothpaste to buy. Maybe all of that is true. Either way, the major events are obviously controlled. To a sense, Rust Cohle is correct. Now the big problem is, for me, is it a loop or is it a linear line into the future, and we are reborn over into other lives in the future? Or do we even go to the multiverse, or do we just stay within our universe? I don't know these things, but I do know that fate is somewhat, the major events are obviously contractual and have to be done that exact way, kind of like the movie Final Destination or the series. Would it come back to get you like the movie? It's probably so. So that's a very painful reality. I mean, and then factor in the part that I say that God is a horrible blood sacrifice energy vampire. You know, so many. I could make another video on all the callings throughout history that man has had to experience, and then all these gods demanding blood sacrifices. Why are we subject to these horrible experiences? It's not something a good God would give to his children, because we're not his children. We are merely food, and that makes much more sense. The cover story that our souls are being tried, maybe it's a multi-task event. Maybe they're just commandeered it, and the veil, the greater veil behind it is testing us. The problem is there's no way to prove any of it. That is the problem. Just like I told you in the beginning of the video, there's no way for me to know that any person I encounter in this reality is real, or could be just a computer program to interact with me, and I could be the only one in this universe, and vice versa. Everybody might have their own individual universe that they're experiencing, mirroring every player or NPC in the other multiverses. So it's a big question. Anybody, if you want to comment on the possibilities, maybe you'll enlighten me with some new angle that I haven't thought of, because I persist on this subject a lot. And in reality, if you're in a simulation with controlled parameters, a hologram, well, I mean, you know, the Star Trek series gave us the idea of how a hologram works, and that is through force fields. In other words, it makes tables, chairs through force fields, and they didn't use a like a treadmill thing. I don't know how that works, because it did have walls in the holodeck. So, you know, you could hit the wall eventually, unless the floor did move, and it didn't let you hit it. So, force fields are what make it does seem like a lot of energy for them to. Maybe that kind of energy is abundant, but like Mila Jovanovic said in The Fifth Element, you know, quintessence may be something that is more revered, more addicted to, because I also believe that they may not even have to have it. It may be somebody like an addiction, like a meth addicted person. You know, it may be more of an addiction than a necessity. Oxygen is something we need to live, not an addiction. Oxygen really, in reality, it can make people live longer and smarter, much smarter. Maybe not to the point of being intellectual, but the response time of a computer. Because I experienced this when I went on no sugar diet, or very reduced. My brain was so incredibly quick, and memory was really good. But it doesn't expand your intellectual mind or your perspectives in that respect. It only makes you able to think faster. And I remember I could do subtraction and addition up to maybe close to 30 decimals, 25 or so, I don't know, something like that, when I went on that reduced sugar diet, because your body will view sugar as the main energy source, and then the oxygen is reduced automatically. Anybody who knows anything about bodybuilding knows that if you reduce your sugar, you will lose fat, because oxygen burns fat. Oxygen is an incredible thing. That's why I was looking into hyperbaric chambers recently, but there's so much right now. Anyways, like I said, it's a very interesting subject, and one we need to talk about, because Rust Cohle might have been the odd man in the room, obviously. Too intellectual for what he's doing. I mean, a detective does have to be incredibly deductive, and you would find that in some detectives, because obviously that's all their job is, their description. They have to deduce all of the information they get. Logic, you gotta use logic, human tendencies, blood splatter, designs, which one's which. They use their mind a lot, and obviously I guess you could use somebody like that to get into a full-blown intellectual reality topic. But Rust Cohle is really the last guy you would think that. I mean, when you're looking at Matthew McConaughey, I am utterly surprised with Matthew McConaughey's ability for oration. Is that how you say it? As an orator, as a moderator, as a speaker, as a motivator. When he was at that college recently, I saw the video. The guy does not make one single mistake in I don't know how long that was, like 30, 40, 50 minutes. The guy is probably rehearsed. Yes, actors have great memories. They have to have, I mean, obviously, right? And then they have to do it with emotion and let it flow to some extent, you know. Very accomplished speaker there. He is the most perfect Rust Cohle could ever be, in my estimation. But then again, and he is an Academy Award winner, so yeah, of course. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say in this video. This is a really long video. I'm going to start making new videos again. I wanted to, in order for me to put Rust Cohle in this video, I'm going to have to use my other computer to run it through the movie making software, and have them pop up when I say Rust Cohle. Poof, you know how they do that? I'm like, yeah, maybe not. I just might do it with me just blabbing. But all my videos are deep. I mean, there's a lot of subject matters right now that are piquing my interest, especially the new elements that are being found to be true. That, well, one of which is Bob Lazar's element 115, and that is an incredibly interesting subject because it ties into the possibility that is the material that is Thor's magical hammer, Major. I don't know how to say it. I need to look that up again. Anyways, that is going to be one of my other videos, and I need to cut this one off because I don't even know if I'm recording this far. You know, YouTube patrons, I'd like you to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, please, if possible, respond to my subject matter. It will be very appreciated. Thanks. Peace out to all of you.